people, listeners, viewers. In this program of Police and the Citizens Empowering in Unison, we have Mr. Richard Yanthan, IAS, UPSC 133rd rank of the 2020 batch. So, first of all, on behalf of the All India radio station as well as the program Police and the Citizens, I would like to thank you for your time and as well as congratulate you for bringing us this good laurel to the state at large. So, first, I would like to know, and I suppose a lot of people would like to know who is Mr. Richard Yanthan.
Okay, so as said, my name is Trisha Yanthan.
Hmm.
I was born and brought up in Kohima, Nagaland.
Okay.
My uh, father is from Lakuti village of Oka district, and my mother is from Chunky village of Mokokchung district. I've done my schooling from Kohima itself. I have gone
Hmm.
to Chanmari Higher Secondary School, Kohima, where I've
Hmm.
done my matriculation. After that, I went to Kohima Science College, Josama, and after that, I pursued my graduation in civil engineering from Guwahati, Assam.
Hmm.
As for my family, my father he actually passed away when I was quite young. I was in my fourth standard, and so I've been brought up by my mom and her extended family.
Hmm.
So I have two younger siblings, a younger brother and a younger sister.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Now, you just mentioned that uh, about your mom who is from Chunky village. So I presume you speak both the language, both Lota and Ao.
The Lotha dialect I have not been able to learn because most of my father's family and his brothers, his siblings, they are posted in different places, in
Hmm.
Dimapur, elsewhere in Boka district. So I've not really had anyone to teach or guide me.
Hmm.
As for my mom's dialect, Chunky, I can speak it. Chungli and Mongsan, I'm able to understand, but I can't speak it properly.
Okay, okay, yeah, we understand that, but it's lovely that you could just catch up with those language, let's say, yeah. So okay, so glad to know about the schoolings that you have done in Chanmari. So do you have any connection with this school?
Personally, our my mom's father,
Mm-hmm,
the Kalongchari, he was
mm-hmm,
one of the founding members of the school.
mm-hmm,
So they had a small army camp where they decided to set up a school for the colony
mm-hmm,
citizens of Chanmari in
mm-hmm,
particular. So they requested there some rifles in that area when they were vacating their land, whether they could, use it to set up a school, and it was granted. Over time, the school grew. It started with just the matriculation level, then it moved to the higher secondary or the HS level, and today I think it's one of the biggest schools in Kohima, if not in Nagaland.
mm-hmm.
So I've been to Chanmari since from my class 8 to my 10th standard. I haven't changed school, so I've been there for around 12 years, and I have lots of fond memories, and I've enjoyed my experience there.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's always nice to keep track with our childhood days and years, and I'm very glad to know that you are still in touch with your friends from your high school who must be really feeling proud of your achievement. Now, let's come to a little bit of your preparation. Just how did you prepare and where did you really get the idea that you'd like to go and compete at the UPSC level? Yeah.
So the civil services, really uh, the inspiration started quite young for
Mm-hmm,
me. So it was whether my mother works in the Nagaland Civil Secretariat,
mm-hmm,
so she's in the Nagaland Secretariat Service. So they would talk stories about senior officers, mostly in the IAS, the IPS, or the other services, and then how they were the ones making the major decisions. My mother-in-law would be helping them or executing those, and they would talk about those officers. And then I felt somewhere that this service can you can really use it to do something good for society, or carry out your dreams and aspirations that you may have. So that started with that. But what the IAS was, I found out during my ninth standard, and as I grew up, it was during my ninth and tenth standard that I started looking into what the civil services were. I googled uh, the IAS, the syllabus, um, the job profile of the IAS. I would go to government websites, just look. at the civil list and see who the senior government officers are. What type of functions or roles do they carry out? So those things. But preparation wise, it didn't start then. It started after my graduation. So I
Mm-hmm.
graduated in 2017 in civil engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, After a week or so, I went to Delhi,
Mm-hmm.
where I took admission in Rouse IAS Study Circle, and I stayed in Delhi for around 10 months. After that, I returned back to Nagaland because I had to give the state services exam also.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just prepared from home after that. So the preparation stage started initially with the basics. There are the first thing that I would suggest anyone who's starting for this service is to look at the syllabus, get a grasp of the syllabus, and try to find out what questions are being asked, because the UPSC syllabus is quite vast. I mean, almost everything under the stars and the moon, or it can be
Mm-hmm.
asked. But again, if you study smartly, it's not as big. So two things how you can overcome that is to stick to the syllabus, and the second one is looking at previous year question papers.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one aspect where I think candidates should focus on. After that, you start preparing, because even in the NCRTs there are some chapters which you can omit, you can forego. Actually, if
Mm-hmm.
you study the syllabus smartly, that was told to me by some of the seniors, and it did help. I didn't waste time studying one or two chapters. uh, so then after that, I moved on to the standard textbook. There are a list of textbooks that almost every candidate follows, and then preparation wise, that was how it started.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for advising. I would say advising uh, on how to prepare for the UPSC. Now, a lot of people wants to try at the UPSC for maybe the IAS or the IPS, IFS. So many opportunities, but sometimes a lot of people, not a lot of people, but I feel it takes quite a lot of brain to overcome and get a hold of this kind of jobs. So, what do you say on that?
You're perfectly right in saying that getting into the civil services is quite tough. I mean, let's not deny it. There are around 7 to 800 posts, which may decrease with automation and some of the services being, some of the public sectors being privatized.
Hmm.
We may have lesser number of posts in the coming years. So, and the number of candidates are increasing year by year. So it is true. It is tough. You just don't need just brain. There is an element of uh, uh, luck also involved. If you get the study the part of the syllabus which is asked in that year. So you
Hmm.
can write better answers and you come out. That is luck. I don't mean luck as in just just go and then give and you clear. I mean it doesn't happen.
Hmm.
You need hard work, but you also need certain things to be in your favor. That is what I mean by luck. I mean getting the right interview board, getting the right center of exam, not too far, or having an easy
Hmm.
mode of transport, and all those factors also do come in, and that's it. The other part is, as you have rightly said, it's a very tough competition, and everyone who tries it will not be able to make it. That's the reality. We have to face that. But again, there may be some people who give up from the beginning, thinking that
Hmm.
it's far too hard. But they may be the most competent candidates, because they have never really tried attempting this exam with their full potential. So we don't know.
Hmm.
So I think, and just attempting this exam in itself will give you so much of knowledge, so much of information. It will make you a better citizen. You come to know about the laws of the country. You come to know about the topography, the geography of the country, the society, the culture, and you can use that knowledge in wherever other field you may go on.
Hmm.
Suppose if you want to open a business,
Hmm.
you'll have to know what the topography of Nagaland is. Suppose if you want to grow something in Nagaland, you have to know the soil, the condition, the climatic, condition, the infrastructure is the connectivity there, the logistics, and then you move on. So this preparing for the civil services will, ultimately have a value addition in your life. So even if you don't make it, you can always use that information you gain elsewhere in whatever avenue you choose to go forward with.
Hmm. Well, thank you so much. Now, you say that you have been to Delhi for about 10 months to get uh, coached there for the UPSC. Whereas, if I'm not mistaken, we have some coaching centers even in Kohima or Dimapur. Why did you choose to go to Delhi in spite of having those kind of facilities at our doorstep?
Uh, yeah, now we have many good coaching institutes. But if I remember correctly, I started in 2017, and all the
Hmm.
coaching institutes in that time were quite new in Nagaland, or some
Hmm.
were just coming up, or I didn't know
Hmm.
about them. And then it was not just the coaching institutes are really good in Kohima and Dimapur. I think it's not the coaching institute alone. It's the candidate also who matters. So I went to Delhi because uh, of the environment. There's also you need an environment where you can discuss with friends. That is I think slightly much better in Delhi now. I would say.
Hmm.
So there is a element of competition there. The atmosphere there is really competitive, different. So it helps you in the long run. But I'm sure in the coming days, the coaching institutes in our state will also imbibe the same aura, and then will not need to go to Delhi. Not everyone would be required to go to Delhi. I think
Hmm.
our state will be able to provide those facilities in the coming days.
All right. Let's be hopeful that we really get to see that kind of days ahead in the future as soon as possible, much earlier than we expect. All right, now let's come to another point. Uh, the literacy rate in Nagaland is considered to be one of the highest, or it's counted amongst the highest in the country. Yet we talk so much about unemployment and youths being unemployed. So, where do you feel, or where do you see the gap?
Well, yeah, it's true. Nagaland, I think literacy-wise, we are doing quite well, but it's not just the quantity, it's the quality. So I don't know. So there, I think the traditional pedagogy of teaching, we have to adapt and change. So along with the traditional method of reading the textbooks and all, I think we need to imbibe new skills. Skill development is one area where the government has been stressing upon both at the center and the state level. And I think that is really required because at the end of the day, bookish knowledge is what you learn, but while practicing, you do need some certain skills to carry out those whatever you have learned. So,
Mhm.
as you have said, Nagaland, with a sizable population as Meghalaya, in a recent report, was ranked having the highest unemployment rate at around 21%, whereas Meghalaya, with a sizable population, had around the lowest, around 1.5%. So, what are they doing right that we are not doing? I think we can learn from them also, and also we have to look at other areas, or not just the government sector for employment. For
Mhm.
instance, if you go to Shillong, you will see that the infrastructure there is quite suited to promote tourism, and that is what the locals are benefiting from. And I think that's one of the reasons for the low unemployment rate in the state, despite having similar demographic figures. They're doing much better in that. I think we can also, do that in Nagaland, and our Naga people, the youth, are really talented people. So, I mean, if we just harness the potential, I think we can go much, much ahead.
Mhm. Yeah, so I believe that will be a piece of advice everyone has to take in seriously, instead of just being there at the spot, being there at the place, and chanting that we are employed, we are unemployed. So yeah, government sector is not everything that we have to look in. So yeah, listeners and viewers, kindly let us take that piece of advice seriously. Now, one thing I'd like to have your perspective is, while we talk about unemployment, a lot of our youngsters, a lot of service aspirants, let's say, are more concentrated to the state service rather than the central service. I think I just have a little feeling of that kind of thing. Do you feel that the state service, the NPAC, is more attractive than the UPSC? Or what is the reason you feel that the youngsters are not really attempting to go as far as the UPSC?
There may be a number of reasons why the state services uh, are far more attractive, seem far more attractive to our
Hmm.
youngsters than the union services. One factor could be posting. In the central service, you don't know where you're going to be posted. So people generally prefer their home state or their home cadre, so
Hmm.
they think that being in the state service, you are going to be, uh, you know, posted in the state. So the worry of being posted in an unknown location or a place where, culturally it may be different, or there may be a difference in the food, the language, that goes away. So that may be one of the reasons.
Hmm.
Another reason would, I suspect, is that a lot of Nagas have not cleared the civil services. Uh, I mean, in a sense that, look at our neighboring state of Manipur. I mean, this year the prelims, from the state alone, I think it's in double digits,
Hmm.
among the higher side. For their proportion, they have done quite well. Even us, we have done well. I mean, we have around 7 to 8 candidates, I believe,
Hmm.
counting Nagaland and elsewhere. So, and then the fact that we did have a lot of central service and IPS and the other services, but the fact that our last IAS officer was in 2007, I think also set a impression on the people that this exam is a bit tough. I
Hmm.
mean, people can't get. But I hope that that is now, that has been taken care of, and people now try forward, they come forward. I hope that next year we'll have a lot of candidates in clearing this exam, both
Okay.
at the center and the state level.
Hmm. Thank you. Now that you are an IAS and you have just spoken about being away from home, getting posted in any part of the country, where do you prefer your first posting to be? You're given a
Well,
choice.
we have we have a zonal system now in place where we give
Hmm.
choices based on the zone. So on that, yes, I've given Nagaland as my preferred, cadre. But anywhere in India is fine. You can do a lot of work in any of the cadre. It certainly certain cadres seem better or more attractive, but it also depends on personal choice. So wherever I go, I will try to perform my duty well and
Hmm.
carry out my all my administrative activities without, we are following the rules and without any feeling that I have not gotten this cadre or that cadre or not been posted in the home. So, you know, I think we should look forward to uh, doing our best in whichever place we're posted in, rather than just focusing that I didn't get this or that cadre or
Hmm.
something like.
Well, good luck with your choice and the selection that you have placed, and of course, the cadre that you will be receiving. Now, you have just spoke something about going uh, to the designated cadre and working out your duties, things like that. Of course, there'll be a lot of limitations on how you work, or at least the department in which you are placed might give you or put you in a little constraint to work with all your full uh, full capacity, let's say, or with the zeal that you have. But as an IAS, what area are you planning to focus mainly? Or let's say, what will be your area of interest to focus once you are assigned your color?
Yeah. So I think in India, most of the policies and programs are very well formulated. I mean, if you
Hmm.
look at the guidelines, the laws which have been passed, they're really good. They're really strong, and they look good on paper. I think it's
Hmm.
the execution and the implementation part where it's seen lagging. So I'll try to work on the implementation part of it. Uh, there are many schemes which are held back for lack of clarity. I think there is that is another area where we have to, make it crystal clear how the policy should be implemented. Better training to our officers at the field level, because ultimately it is them who will be carrying out the activity. I think they should be briefed properly on this, and carrying out the programs and policies in such that the intended beneficiaries really do benefit from it, not just that this amount of sum has been spent, this amount of work has been done, but really going out there and seeing whether it has impacted or made progress or change the lives of the people it was intended for. Those in any department I will be focusing, I would like to focus on that.
Hmm. Well, good luck with your endeavors, with the hope that you have. Now, I
Thank
would
you.
say you have achieved one of the highest job that's available in the country. But is there any higher of level that you want to climb to?
Well, Abraham Maslow said, that there's a hierarchy of needs. So, if you read about that, he said that once one need is satisfied, it no longer motivates. But
Mhm.
that's where he went wrong with that. And then, the civil services, our initial uh, aim is to get into the services. Everyone just thinks about making into the list. Then their goals shift slightly higher, and they want the higher some of particular services, say the IAS, the IPS, or the IFS, or something like that.
Mhm.
Then their next goal would be getting placed in a good cadre or their preferred cadre or their home cadre. Then
Mhm.
the next would be, some particular district or some particular posting, something
Yeah,
like that. Well,
yeah.
I think that wherever I may be, I'll try to work out my best.
Mhm.
As for personal goals, yeah, I do have certain goals that I would, one day, uh, like to contribute towards the state and the nation. So
Mhm.
maybe somewhere where I can really make changes, any department it may be, but a position where I can influence policies, which would be favorable to the development of the state and the country. I would like to be in that position.
All right. Well, that's really nice to know all those things. Well, now, as we come to conclude our discussion, is there anything that you'd like to give out to our listeners and viewers?
Yeah, I would like to break it down into different parts. First, with
Hmm.
the citizen. I see you have written police and citizen. I think it's
Hmm.
really important because of what happened recently in the U.S. With the killing of you know a person from a particular community and then riots taking place. And the demand that the police system be scrapped. But
Hmm.
how do we replace it? The police is important and will continue to remain an important part of our society because it is the police which ensures law and order. And
Hmm.
without law and order, we can't have development. So the citizens should work, particularly during this, pandemic, during the COVID crisis. We have to ensure that we work with the police. There are certain reports, where citizens and the police have not been in the best of been the best of friends, but we have to work with the police. We have to
Hmm.
ensure that they can carry out their duties. We also have to ensure that we go by abide by the rules. The rules are made for us. It's for our benefit. They have been made keeping in mind the greater need and the greater benefit of society. So
Hmm.
individually, if we are impacted, you know, uh, we'll have to take into consideration the greater good of society. To the youth, I would like to, just give some tips on, the UPSC, about the civil services, the UPSC and the NPSC.
Hmm.
So, one thing I noticed is that a lot of, uh, a consider sizable number of Naga are able to qualify the preliminary stage. Last year we had around 13, so it's almost around 10 to 15. But when we reach the main stage, it gets reduced to two or three candidates, and from a pool of two to three candidates, election is it becomes hard. So I think we're good in the preliminary stage of it. That means we are reading the right materials. But the thing is that I think if students want to qualify this exam, they have to concentrate on the main part because the prelims is just filtration stage. They will filter the candidates, but it's the mains which will determine whether you get into the service or not because it carries the maximum marks. And for that you'll have to practice answer writing. I think that is one area where our where the youth are lagging, and practice answers, look at give test series, attempt previous year question papers, and work hard on that. That is one aspect of that. Personality development is also important issue, but it's the subjective part of it. So if you can improve your speaking, partake in some maybe some topics, public speaking, debate. That also helps.
Hmm.
Those are some of the things that I would like to tell them. And then during my interviews, there have been questions that whether coaching is necessary. Coaching is not necessary because what coaching does is that it just gives you the compiled resource. That's it. That's the reason I took it because I not want to waste much time for that. But
Hmm.
there are many. in our society who cannot afford the high coaching fees, because coaching ultimately is a business, and it's quite high, the fees. So, but again, if you look at it, today you have the internet and there are many resources available online for free, so you
Mhm.
can check those out. The only part where you may require assistance, so that you can always contact your seniors, or the people who have cleared this exam, both at the center and the state level, because they are competent people to be able to guide you. And I think they can also uh, request, you know, the All India Radio to set up more of such programs,
Mhm.
so that you'll be able to give insight. You have galaxy of speakers who are very well accomplished in various fields, and I'm sure the audience will benefit greatly from this. So that's my advice to the aspirants and to the society at large.
Thank you so much. Well, listeners and viewers, we have had a discussion with Mr. Richard Yanthan, IAS, UPSC 133rd rank of the batch 2020. Thank you so much for your time and for speaking up your mind and giving us all the peace that we have always wanted to hear from a person like you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.